So I played Jak and Daxter for the first time in the year of our Lord 2025, jumped into it with zero expectations, and came out pleasantly surprised. Jak and Daxter is an extremely well-made game that is consistently fun and excellently paced. Jak and Daxter, I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game. One of the first things I noticed about Jak and Daxter is how pretty its visuals are, especially for a game that released on the PS2 in 2001. The colors in this game are so bright and vibrant. Everything just pops. The greens of the grass, the blues of the water, the reds of lava, and the white of snow are so eye-catching. The graphical fidelity of this game won't wow you, but it's the level of attention to detail that elevates the visuals of the game. The different kinds of plants and trees that cover an area, and the exterior of stone and wood that decorate the huts. The interior of these huts are extremely detailed, decorated with rugs, barrels, random decor on the wall, and shelves. It makes these places feel lived in and alive. There are so many wacky and goofy characters you find across your playthrough. All of them are excellently voiced and distinct, even though many of them only have a few lines of dialogue. Their wackiness and randomness made many of them stick in my memory long after I talked to them. When I first heard Daxter talk, I was afraid this game's writing and dialogue would be annoying, but surprisingly I actually thought it was pretty solid and just a tad bit funny. It never made me laugh out loud or anything crazy like that, but there were moments that made me chuckle a little, a little exhale here and there, a little ha ha hee hee every once in a while.
Howdy, friends. Enjoying my beautiful swamp? On these here parts. Everything that doesn't sink into the mud, that is.
Judging by the smell, I'd wager your bathtub sank into the mud long ago.
What's a bathtub?
But anyways, enough about the little baby stuff. Let's talk about the manly thing, the real reason why this game is good, what I actually enjoyed about this game. I really enjoy this game because of its freedom and how open it is. Right from the get-go, I had so many directions I could go in, multiple missions I could take on, and everywhere I went, I was rewarded for exploring the environments. There are 3 main collectibles in the game. The power cell is the main thing you want to get, as these are the collectibles you need to progress the game and unlock more areas. You can also collect scout flies that can be found inside red crates. Finding 7 scout flies in any given area rewards a player with the power cell. The other collectible is the orb, which is also needed to collect more power cells. Orbs are basically your form of currency which allows you to buy power cells. Random characters in this weird rock thingy will give you power cells in exchange for a certain amount of orbs. This creates a very fun and interesting gameplay loop that rewards you for thoroughly exploring every area. No matter where you are or what direction you go in, you always feel like you're in the right place because you are almost always rewarded with a scout fly, a few orbs, or a power cell. But what keeps this interesting throughout its runtime is the strong level design and the variety of mechanics and challenges thrown at the player. You go from lining up these towers, finding a hidden boss in the depths of a building, hopping on your zoomer racing across lava before you blow up, catching fish, completing zoomer challenges, dropping an egg from a cliff so that it hatches, platforming with a giant bird, shooting rats. You can get this electric ability, which allows you to open doors or create platforms or jump with this launch pad and reach otherwise unreachable areas. Use the fire ability to cut the ropes off the ship or to defeat a boss. There's just so much variety in the gameplay which keeps it fresh and exciting throughout its runtime. There is also so much variety in the kind of environments you find yourself in, ranging from an island, a jungle, an ocean with a facility that goes far below the surface of the water, a volcano, and a snowy mountain. The environmental variety is not just visually unique, but also another opportunity to throw a different type of challenge to the player, such as trying to control Jak on slippery ice. This game provides so much freedom to the player. To complete the game, you only need 72 of the 100 power cells, and you can get any power cell you want. As I was nearing the end of my playthrough, I was short of a few power cells and didn't really feel like exploring the volcano world or the spider cave. So I decided to go back to the first island to collect some power cells I missed. I went to the water world as well and completed the blue ring challenge. It's so nice having the freedom to go wherever I want and complete whatever challenges I want. It just makes the gameplay experience so much more fun and rewarding, unlike you, Sunshine. It's also impressive how everything in this world is connected. You go from the island to the ocean to the volcano all without a single loading screen, and I think that's just extremely impressive. It's another reason why this game is so impressive and why the world feels so alive and natural. Jak and Daxter is just a very, very good game, and extremely enjoyable from beginning to end. It's crazy to think about how talented Naughty Dog is. They've been putting out bangers since before I was born. Again, sorry Naughty Dog, I wasn't familiar with your game. Mouthwashing is one of those games where it's nearly impossible to talk about without spoiling anything, so to keep it short and sweet, Mouthwashing is a 3-hour long psychological horror game that is so unique and unlike anything I've played before. There is so much about this game to analyze and so many things to ruminate on, hence why there are so many YouTube videos analyzing this game. I do think this game does drag on just a little bit too long, and I did become impatient with the game as I was ready for it to just end at some point, though I mainly chalked it up to me just being hungry and probably a little cranky when I was playing. Otherwise, this was a phenomenal experience and a game definitely worth playing for yourself if you haven't already. I'm not a fan of turn-based combat, but I still give Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door a try because I've heard so much praise for this game. After completing the first chapter, I thought that this game could eventually end up becoming one of my favorite games of all time. However, the cracks in this game became apparent in the second chapter, and the longer I played this game, the more problems I had with it, till eventually I put it down to the final boss. So what the hell happened? The Thousand Year Door has Mario go on an adventure to find the kidnapped Peach and the 7 crystal stars needed to save the world from an evil power that has lain dormant for 1,000 years. Along the way, you meet a cast of lovable characters and visit many beautiful and distinct locations. The first thing that stuck out to me is how hilarious the writing is. The humor of this game is just so silly and random, and I love it. It constantly made me smile, exhale through my nose, and even occasionally got an audible laugh out of me, which is rare for a game to get that kind of reaction out of me. Another thing I love about this game is the combat. This version of turn-based combat feels like it was custom made for people like me who don't like to just click a button and watch a number go up. I want to be active and have some form of agency and control. There are so many moves that reward you for a well-timed button presses, and you also get to avoid or negate damage with a well-timed press of the button while you're on the defensive. There are so many systems at play during combat. Your FP allows you to use unique movesets that are far more helpful than your base movesets. However, your FP is limited, so you have to be strategic about how you use them. Then you also have the badge system that gives you certain benefits such as extra HP, the ability to swap partners without skipping a turn, and access to other combat moves. There are a lot of badges to experiment with, and you'll find yourself swapping between different badges depending on the kind of enemies you face. Then you also have your special moves that are kind of like your big and powerful anime move. To pull off your special moves, you need to hype up the crowd and appeal to them and pull off fancy moves. The more you appeal to them and get them excited, the more that special meter will fill up, allowing you to execute a special move. You also have so many items to help you out during battle, such as items that make the enemies dizzy and less accurate, or items to heal you during the fight. As you progress through the game, you unlock more abilities that allow you to access parts of the world that were previously inaccessible. It is fun because as you travel back and forth from a rogue port, your new abilities allow you to access new areas and you'll find many items and shines that help you along your journey. However, there is one massive problem that plagues the game, and it's a problem I should have seen coming from a mile away. The backtracking in this game is absolutely dreadful. Chapter 2 is where I first started to notice this backtracking, and it was the first time I thought to myself, damn, I'm kinda bored just walking through these sections. And then chapter 3 3 was better. I enjoyed fighting up through the ranks while trying to solve the mysteries of who was sending me threatening letters and the missing fighters. And then there's Chapter 4. This is where it got the worst. You have to walk from the beginning of the level all the way to the end 3 separate times. And you have to walk through these narrow paths where it's so easy to bump into these enemies. Like, please, I don't want to fight you for the 20th time, please leave me alone. Chapter 5 also has terrible backtracking. I think you also have to go back and forth 3 times, which is just so boring and stupid. Like, why? You know how after you get a crystal star and it presents it to the door and find out the location of the next crystal star, the game immediately teleports you back to Professor Frankly so you don't have to walk back through the areas it just came from, right? Why did they not do that in these levels where the backtracking is so annoying? Why not just teleport me to the place I need to be? And then Chapter 7 has you backtrack through all the locations you previously visited just to find 2 dudes. Dog, was this necessary? Did this add anything interesting to the story or the plot? Was it even fun? No. So why would he make me do this? Other than to waste my time. It's such a shame because the game would have already been long enough even without the excessive backtracking, so I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. Chapter 7 has you backtracking through all the locations you traveled to before, and when you're finished with that, you go to the moon and enter the Axolot space, which is probably my favorite dungeon in the game. You have access to an elevator and you can go explore the multiple levels and find the items that you need to progress the dungeon. It is an excellent dungeon and a really good time, but that's the thing. Which part was the most enjoyable? The dungeon, of course, but so why isn't a larger part of my game time spent in these dungeons? The dungeon design is so masterful, and it just pisses me off because I wish I spent more time in the dungeons, exploring and battling my way through rather than doing this brain-numbing and uninteresting backtracking. The balance between doing the fun things and the unfun things is terrible. I also have beef with the final chapter of the game. For the final chapter, the first half of the dungeon is pretty weak and can be summarized as a long series of hallways with dozens of enemies with massive health pools. It's not until the final half of the dungeon that it actually gets interesting and does something new compared to what came before. For example, how you have to constantly switch between your partners to progress the dungeon. The final boss of the game just shows everything that is wrong with this game. Before you fight the final boss, you're forced to go through all of this dialogue and these cutscenes which take well over 5 to 10 minutes in total, and then you finally get to fight the boss. Guess what? If you die, you have to restart your save point and you get to watch it all over again. What the fuck? You know, at some point you just gotta put the game down and call it quits. The 1000-Year Door has so many great elements, great writing, great combat, great level design, but all of the good stuff is constantly being pushed down and drowned in a mire of excessive backtracking and moments where the game doesn't respect your time. The 1000-Year Door has everything it needs to be a 10 out of 10 game, but there's so much rubbery fat you have to chew on before you get to enjoy the tender steak it has to offer. As it stands, it's a 7 out of 10 game for me, and unless you're an RPG fan or have the patience of a saint, I don't think this is a game that I'd recommend to people. And to finish the year off, I decided to play Hades. I've played this game before, but I never got far into it. Something about it being a roguelike just did not mesh well with me. I really hated the feeling of dying and having to restart all the way from the beginning, which I know is the gameplay loop, but it just felt so punishing. However, playing it again on a new save has been far more fun than I could have imagined. I'll just get out of the way that I do not care for the story or even much of the dialogue here in this game. I feel kinda bad saying that because there's clearly so much effort from this game to tell a story through its roguelike mechanics, and the voice acting in this game is simply incredible. However, when I play Hades, I just want to get straight into the sauce. Let me kill the demons, let me get stronger and collect items, and let me feel like a god until the enemies start to pin me against the ropes and I die. That's what I look forward to when I play this game. Hades has so many interesting things going for it. In your home, you have access to the renovation table, which allows you to buy helpful upgrades, like implementing a fountain in the worlds ahead of you that grants you HP. You can trade a multitude of items at the shop down there, such as trading gemstones for keys. In your room, there is a reflective mirror that allows you to level up your character. Darkness is needed to level up, while keys can be used to lock even more upgrades and even weapons. There are multiple weapons to choose from, each of them with a distinct feel and advantages. What makes all of this great is that as you fight your way through different rooms, you'll earn many of these items needed to upgrade, and when you inevitably die, you get to spend them so they are better equipped on the next run. So no run feels meaningless, as you're always making progress little by little, not just by leveling up your character, but also simply by you getting better at the game and learning its mechanics. Many gods will aid you in your run and offer you boons to give you certain benefits and abilities during that run. No two runs are ever the same because these boons are randomized, and there's a lot of experimentation trying to figure out which combination of boons is best for your style of play. You can also find Charon and buy things at a shop that makes you stronger for the run. There are a large cast of characters that will help you on your run and make you stronger, and they almost always have a small bit of interaction with Zagreus. On January 1st, I finally had my first successful clear. I was expecting this to be the end and roll credits, but it actually turns out the first clear is not meant to be the last, and there is a lot more work to do. However, the interaction between Zagreus and this mysterious character we meet on the outside was so heartfelt that I feel compelled to reach the surface again, just so the two of them can see each other again, even if it's only for a brief moment. Although I really enjoy playing Hades, it's a game I have to be in a certain mood in to play. As you get better at the game and your runs get longer, I found that my runs were taking up to and over 40 minutes at a time. It is a huge time commitment, and I don't really want to start a run, just put the game down halfway through a run. To add on to that, this is the only game I played where my hands started feeling weird after playing for an extended period of time. I play a very spammy build that uses a lot of dashing and fast attacking, and so I think my hands just got fatigued after doing that a lot. I'm kinda terrified of getting any sort of injury, as I've been dealing with weird wrist pain for the past year or so, and I know how annoying it is to deal with hand injuries. Not to mention, I've seen people getting hand injuries for playing games too much, and I ain't gonna lie, that's mad embarrassing. Like, bruh, imagine having your hand in a cast and someone asks you, "Oh damn, how do you hurt yourself?" You say, "Oh yeah, it's cause I played so much video games. I was gaming too hard, bro." Like, nah, I can't do that. So now when I play Hades, I just do one run a day and then leave it at that. Is it kind of lame? Yeah, because I want to keep progressing, but that's just how it is sometimes. Overall though, Hades is a good time and an excellent game. And when you what the fuck? And when you inevitably die, and when you inevitably die, inevitably, and when you inevitably, what? And when you inevitably, what the hell? And when you what the fuck?